Well, welcome here to Nelson's GreenBrier Distillery. This is where we're going to be walking in the front door. As you can see, we've got a beautiful 32-seat bar behind me, 100-seat restaurant over here. We're just in the opening stages, so we're working on, getting everything all set up for everybody to come on in here on day one. Behind this big old plate glass window, you'll see these giant steel containers. Those are our fermenters. So you're looking at our production floor right back behind me here, and our still Miss Louisa right over there. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. We've been working on this since, it's probably been 6 months, probably about 6 months for the physical, construction and stuff. So this used to be, space where we're standing right now used to be probably one part of the front office. No, you know what? This is exactly where our loading dock actually was, right where we are. So it's kind of crazy to think that, but now here we are in our beautiful bar and restaurant.
How exciting.
So this is our hallway of history where the full proper tour starts. So we're starting chronologically, beginning really in 1835 with Charles Nelson, my triple great grandfather Charles Nelson, the year he was born, and his journey from Germany to America and on down the way up until the modern day. So that's on one side of the hall. On the other side, we have a timeline like you might see in a textbook that just goes through a lot of big kind of cultural touch points in the world, right next to the big moments in our company and my family history, showing you kind of what else was happening in the world to give you a little bit of context surrounding the story of Charles Nelson and Louisa Nelson and their journey from Germany to America to GreenBrier Distillery. These are, at least on the right and the left, two original bottles of GreenBrier Tennessee whiskey with the name Charles Nelson on it. And so these bottles are over 150 years old, be up to 160 years old. These are original bottles, and these bottles right here are the things that made us realize and know that, hey, this is the business we have to be in. We've got to get going on this. And so these are definitely my two favorite things in this room. It is, history is the forefront of everything because it is the reason that our business even exists, in the modern day. Because, my brother and I were not, he hadn't even graduated college yet. I was just a year out of college. I didn't know fully what I was going to do. I didn't have career plans. And so we learned about this history and just became enamored immediately and had this instant passion for it. And so we knew this is what we're going to do. So we entered this business, this industry, from the history angle, this historical angle. And so it's been a big thing for me to kind of know that just because I didn't come from a science background, for example, it doesn't make my, being in this industry or this business any, less than someone who, is a great scientist and knows how to chemically make everything perfectly or that kind of a thing. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's just a different value, and it's all worth the same in the end. So I don't know if you noticed, when we first walked in, this is the view you could see through these giant windows out here. So if you look to my left, your right, these giant plate glass windows. And if you notice, that's where you walked in when you first entered the building. So you come look right at where we're standing now, and this is it. This is an amazing view. For me, you guys have maybe never seen this, but for me to see it from where it came from, it's unbelievable. We've worked so long and so hard to get this to where it is now, and to have this view finally in sight. To see it on paper is one thing and know what it's gonna look like, but to see it in person is an entirely different thing. So what you see behind me here is Miss Louisa. This is our 750-gallon copper pot and column hybrid still, and this is what does all the hard work here in this distillery. So we take our beer from the fermenters, like I told you before, this alcoholic porridge kind of a thing, It's at about 9, 10, 11% alcohol by volume. And we put it into the pot here in Miss Louisa. And what we do then is we heat it up, and what's happening there is the distillation process. This is really something, you probably learned in the 7th grade. This is just the separation of alcohol from the other, from the water mostly. And that is based on the principle that water has a higher boiling point than alcohol. In other words, when you're heating it up, the alcohol boils off first, turns to vapor, and rises up the column of that still. The next part of it goes through this silver kind of S-curve pipe and into that pencil-shaped looking vessel right there. That's the condenser. And what's happening there is there are these series of shotgun tubes running through that with cold water running through them. So that just creates a colder atmosphere. So when that hot vapor, that's the alcohol vapor, hits the cold air in the condenser, it cools down, condenses into a liquid, and comes out of that little tray, that kind of glass cage we call a parrot, as whiskey. That's our whiskey off the still. And the next process is part of specifically our Tennessee whiskey making process, which I'll show you here in a minute. So as you may be able to tell, or maybe not, we're in what is to become our barrel storage warehouse. So because we're right in the middle of moving and moving into it, we don't have any barrels here just yet, but you'll see a big old row of barrels and ricks like that moving forward from here. Very excited for that to have, barrels just look cool, they feel good, they're beautiful, they just give a cool vibe. So that's part of our business, so we're excited to get them back in. All right, well that's it for our tour at Nelson's GreenBrier Distillery. I hope you enjoyed it. Please come see us. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, brunch, tours, tastings, anything your heart desires. Bottles, you got it. Come on by anytime. We'd love to have you. We'll see you next time.